Hey everybody, and welcome to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit the Mike Nichols film, Working Girl. So, wash down a Valium with a shot of tequila and have a seat.
Nice. Funny that you mentioned that because I just washed down a Valium with a shot of tequila. Just this very second.
Yes, I want to do an episode where we're either drunk or...
We will.
Yeah.
I think we need to revisit like Author or something. Anyway, hi, welcome to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we are revisiting Working Girl, 1988, starring Harrison Ford and Sigourney Weaver, Melanie Griffith.
Exactly in that order. Were
Is
you
that how
surprised by that? Oh my god, that's how it is
listed?
in the credits. Yeah, wild.
I'm not super surprised about that.
No, they're bigger names.
Yeah, they are bigger names. I'm surprised. I was actually a little bit surprised that it wasn't like...
introducing.
Right, that could be the... Or even at the end, you know how they do like, you know, not special appearance by, but with Sigourney Weaver. Like, I'm surprised they didn't split up the top billing, because they were both pretty big actors at that point.
Yes, they were.
Sigourney Weaver and then a very young Alec Baldwin was in
Very
this.
young.
Very young. Same year as Beetlejuice, 1988.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. But he seemed younger in this because he played a husband in Beetlejuice.
Christina, did you want to completely dismantle the structure of our show?
Yes. And Joan Cusack was also in this.
Very good, Christina.
Okay.
Very good.
So, Brian!
Thank you, finally!
You love it. You love it. What were your thoughts way back when? When did you first see this movie?
Well, let me tell you, it's quite a moment for this episode, for this whole podcast, because there are not too many times I'll be able to say this.
Oh, boy.
Ever.
Here we go.
This movie was a date with a girl.
What?
It was a real life date. It was a real
Where are our sound effects now?
Oh, I know.
That's pretty crazy.
I know. It's a real life date with a girl.
Oh my
she asked me out.
Is this the same date when you were getting out of the car and you like bumped your head? There was a date that you had. That was a date. I don't want to say these. Don't say the names.
I don't say the names.
No, but I remember you saying you were trying to get out of the car so fast that you smashed your head.
No, it wasn't my head. She smashed her head.
Oh, she smashed her head.
But what happened that date, I was wearing a
so
a
she was
sweater.
trying to get away from you.
I was wearing a sweater. Well, you know why? For a million reasons. No. No. She was beautiful. Actually, I've only ever really dated girls that have asked me out, and they've all been quite beautiful. But here's the thing. So, but that day that you're talking about the head bumping in the car,
yes.
I was wearing a sweater that I got from Structure. Okay,
oh
this
my
is
gosh.
How's that for a timestamp? Structure, and it was quite expensive, and I was like, oh my god, but I love this sweater so much, and I was not making a lot of money. I was not a kid, but very, very young. And I bought the sweater. And I go and I pick her up and like shit's in the car and she is having an allergic reaction to
the
my
sweater?
Yeah. It was like whatever
it was.
It was
some
sort of like,
that's hilarious.
But and it was like a furry sweater. But I love that sweater. But this date.
Oh, I want you to find a picture of you in this sweater. Find a picture.
It was expensive.
I'm sure it was.
At Structure. So on this particular date, what happened was I had gone to the movies earlier with some friends to see a different movie. I think it would have been The Naked Gun, but the girl behind the ticket booth, we knew each other. We went to school together, and I was like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you worked here. And she truly says to me, she's like, oh, is
that a new sweater? No.
I wasn't wearing that. But she's like, yeah, it's great. I get to go to the movies for free, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, cool. And she's like, I came in to ask you for your phone number. I gave her my phone number. She called me and invited me to the movies because she gets to go to the movies for free. And we saw Working Girl.
Oh my gosh.
She's such a funny, like, nice, pretty young lady. But we never had a second date, of course. But I loved Working Girl. I loved this movie. I remember being like like excited for it when it got Oscar nominations.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, my favorite was in the movie was Alec Baldwin.
Isn't that funny?
Hot.
Wow.
Oh my god, I'm sitting there in that scene where
surprising.
that scene where she walks in on them having sex. I was like, oh my god, I think I'm in love with Alec Baldwin. Well, I'm on this date with this girl. But
so was this your coming out movie?
Maybe it was. I had multiple moments in the movies where I was like, this is, I like that. So,
oh my gosh.
But the thing is like, so I thought he was awesome. I thought he was like a real actor. And I don't think I was super familiar with him. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I don't even know if I would have connected him to Beetlejuice if that came up first. But I actually thought Melanie Griffith was a little annoying in this movie. Mm-hmm. I thought she had some great scenes, but overall I was a little annoyed by her voice. But ultimately, I loved Working Girl. Christina?
Yes, same. I didn't see it in a movie, and it wasn't on a date.
Okay.
But I also really liked this movie. It was a rental for me. Mm-hmm. And, again, it was one of those, what do you want to watch? I don't know, I'll just grab this.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew anything about it beforehand for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched it, and I was surprised at how much I liked it. Mm-hmm. And I think I related a lot to the Melanie Griffith character mm-hmm. at that point in time in my career, mm-hmm. which is why I probably liked it as much as I did. I agree. I also thought it was a bit annoying. Well, it was early. It was like college.
Very early.
Yeah, it was like
80s.
Because you're early, it's like I probably maybe just got out of college or something when I was watching this. So it's beginning your career type mm-hmm. of thing. But I do remember her voice being very annoying.
I love that we have that same note.
I 100% remember that. But I also feel like, and maybe this is more now than then, because I can't remember if I really thought this, but I feel like it mellowed out as the movie went on.
100%. Well, because she's teaching herself elocution, is that the word? Elocution lessons?
Not
she's
that,
basically
talking lessons.
Yeah, talking. She's basically trying to talk more like Sigourney Weaver's character, and she's playing these tapes of Sigourney Weaver's voice.
Yes.
In the process, she's trying to control her accent, which really isn't the problem with me. It was really her voice.
Tone.
Her tone is very very mousy.
Well,
which
at the beginning, even
character.
before she meets, it's one of the first scenes, she talks to her friend Cindy, played by Joan Cusack, that she is taking voice classes.
Oh, she does say that.
Yeah.
Shit, you're right. I forgot about that.
So she's always wanted to change her voice, which
we understand.
I would agree with. But I really liked it. I remember being so happy with the ending and just being like cheering at the end. Just really loving the end.
And I'll tell you, in the movie theater, that this crowd, and that's such a nice moment when you're in a movie theater with people that are into it, because there were people clapping, people cheering, It really was that. It is that expression of crowd pleaser. People were into this movie. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
We are now.
We rewatched this movie. When did you see it, Christina?
It was a few weeks ago, actually.
Okay.
So, I had watched it a few weeks ago, and it was one of those, sometimes I wait to the last minute to watch things. But I had was right on the ball. Right on the ball. Nice. I found a moment, and I watched it, and I really enjoyed it again.
All over again.
All over again. There was a lot that I had forgotten about. I'd forgotten about Alec Baldwin. I'm sure you didn't.
How dare you?
Well, so I had forgotten that he was in it. There were a few people that popped up. I actually forgot that Joan Cusack was in it, but then immediately remembered her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because she's probably one of my favorite characters in the
nominated
movie.
For an Oscar for that role.
And that's amazing. And that speaks so highly to her performance.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I noticed that threw me off, however, is that first scene.
Oh.
You know what I'm going to say?
The
Twin Towers. Yeah. I was like, really, it threw me off.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that was a lot.
Really? So a little bit of trivia. The lobby of Petty Marsh, where Sigourney and Melanie, their characters work, that lobby is the lobby of, don't want to get this wrong, of 7 World Trade Center.
Holy moly.
So that is one of the,
wow.
That was the 9/11.
Crazy. Yeah. Crazy. But that was definitely something that was an emotional part seeing that.
Because it's a big deal. I mean, it really looks like the ferry is going to the World Trade Center.
Yes.
Yeah, it's two towers. I mean,
and you don't see it much. I think people, I don't know if they do that these days, or they just sort of avoid even, obviously the older pictures of things. Like, I just feel like because didn't they do that with Sex and the City opening?
I was afraid we were going to bring this up because, like, I feel like some things digitally removed it because things were filming and then it happened and they didn't want to upset people by showing them. Like, I feel like Sex and the City did that. I think that's one of them, that they maybe not digitally removed it, but changed the opening slightly a little bit, so that they didn't see it. Anyway, that was my first moment. But I remember it, like, I just enjoyed it this time around. I enjoyed it so much from beginning to end, much more than I expected to. And some of the lines were so funny. One of the first ones was from Joan talking about her talking, right? Mm-hmm. She says, "What do you need speech class for? You talk fine." But it was like the way she said it. My
was like
favorite
so good.
Joan Cusack line is $6,000. Yeah, it's not even leather. Oh my god, it's not even. I
have so many lines of hers in here. But yeah, I just like the whole feel of it was pretty good. It stood up in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it didn't. In terms of like the working environment and some of the conversations, I think it's a little bit more sexist back then. That was a little bit more glaring to me. Mm-hmm. There was one point when Tess picked up coffee for a coworker and a carton of cigarettes. Did you catch that?
Oh, no, there's someone smoking in the office.
Yeah, they're all smoking in the
crazy.
office. So a lot of that stuff really stood out this time around. Yeah. But what were your initial thoughts when you rewatched it?
I mean, it's funny. I feel like it just started with the ferry with the cupcake and the birthday, and I mean, and of course, New York. I feel like, obviously, I'm going to say obviously, but if anyone's new to the podcast, I lived in New York for 14 years, but I think there is such a certain look about New York in this movie that was way before I got there. Mm-hmm. But and it's just funny, like you're saying, like the office is her first office is like chaos. It's like, it's like Wall Street and Oliver Platt, who I can't stand. Oh, and then Kevin Spacey's in the limo.
Oh my god, completely shocked at Kevin Spacey, because I saw him on the credits. Yeah. And I'm like, where is Kevin Spacey in this movie? Yeah. And he just has that one scene with her, and he's sleazy. He's
awful, yeah. But what was funny for me is my first note in this is, I kind of want... This is funny. Like, I loved, as I said earlier, I loved this movie. I had watched it, a bunch of times when it had first come out, and I was excited for its Oscar nominations. So watching it now, I was surprised that I didn't remember that how sort of not great. What is her name? The lead, not Melanie.
Kate, Catherine.
No. Melanie Griffith's character.
Oh, Tess.
Tess. That how kind of clumsy Tess was with some of her stuff. So it starts she's wearing sneakers, very relatable. Wearing sneakers in the city, you switch into shoes when you get to the office, and she's bumbling, trying to answer the phone and put her shoe on at the same time. And there's another moment much later on, where Jack is played by Harrison Ford, is catching typos that she had in some of her reports. Mm-hmm. And to me, through my middle-aged lens, I would say I'm surprised Tess couldn't maneuver answering a telephone while putting a shoe on at the same time. I'm surprised Tess did let typos slip by. Because to me, being older now, it's usually that whip smart person in the office is already incredibly good at what they do. Mm-hmm. And they just want so much more. And they're nailing what they're doing. I don't think it's quite, believable. If you have a clumsy, bumbling office employee, person, associate, whatever, and they have aspirations to be a C-level CEO, whatever, I think I would probably say, why don't you get better at doing your actual job first before you shoot for the stars or whatever. And I think Tess isn't super good at her job.
No, she isn't. But I found that a little bit believable, though, because it does speak to wanting to be in a higher position, but not actually being in a higher position. Because wanting to do it is completely different. She doesn't necessarily have the experience. Mm-hmm. She doesn't necessarily have, maybe not the education to be in Catherine's position. They don't really talk about her education that much, do they?
No. Oh, no. So, business classes, I think.
Business classes. Yeah. So, obviously, Catherine, Sigourney Weaver's character, probably has some sort of a master's. And so, I think that it's believable that she's still a little bit frazzled. That's sort of just where she is. And even, like, the typos, like, that comes with experience. Like, she's trying to type the stuff up quick. She probably did read it quickly, but still had some typos. So, to me, it seemed it would have been a little bit less believable if all of a sudden she steps into this role that Catherine has been in for years, and all of a sudden she's like nails it. Like if she didn't have a few mistakes, it would have been like, oh, well, that's interesting. I guess it's not a very tough job.
Wrong, Ola. Christina,
how dare you?
Christina, what I'm saying is, like, I would have loved if she was an amazing secretary or assistant or whatever. Like one wanted to be called an assistant, one wanted to be called a secretary. But I don't think she was great at being a secretary. Like my point is, like, I would have preferred if she was this ace secretary that had some, big ideas what she saw for herself. Because it's like, oh, she's whip smart. She just needs the chance. And then you have this boss, Sigourney Weaver, who's keeping her down. Yes. But it's like, no, she can run circles around you if you just let her. But my argument is she didn't really prove. She's been let go of like 3 jobs in 6 months. 3 jobs in 6 months. So that's clear she's not very good at what she's doing. And Olympia Dukakis, by the way. So to me, I wonder, as a grown person who's worked in a bunch of different offices, to say, hey, I would have loved for her to nail the secretary job and just been like an ace. And yeah, you can still get fired because these men are scumbags to you. And you're fighting back, so you get fired for fighting back. And that adds definitely a thicker layer to this story. But I don't think she was a great secretary.
I don't think she wanted to be a secretary.
Oh my God, Christina, but I'm saying, you would not. Okay, if you're Catherine,
yes,
trust me, this woman's bumbling around. She can't. I know Catherine wasn't in that office at the time. She can't even answer. She can't even take her shoe off and answer the phone at the same time. She doesn't know how to talk to the guy on the phone to make him wait for her boss. Mm-hmm. She doesn't even have like the savvy to orchestrate like certain kinds of meetings and stuff. So it's like. She seems to struggle in her own secretarial world.
Yes.
So if I'm Catherine, or if I'm someone else, I'm like, maybe get a little better at your actual job, like before you want to try and roll in this higher level world.
Right, but
you're not going to get promoted. You're going to get promoted if you're not good at your job.
Are you thinking in terms of the way Catherine's thinking, or the way that Tess is thinking?
No, I'm thinking of the way bosses might think in general in the real world.
But I don't think Catherine ever had the intention of ever having her roll around in her world. No. So why would she even care?
She doesn't know how Catherine operates yet at that point. And also, she lost 3 jobs. So in
you
6
are
months.
thinking about the way. I think we're talking.
I'm thinking about the real world.
Yes,
the real world.
I think that So I asked you if it's in the way that Catherine thinks or in the way that Tess thinks, but you're thinking more the way that Tess is thinking. Because she thinks that she's going to be able to roll around in this big world.
Yes.
Okay. I
think a good boss would say, listen, you need to be an ace at what you're doing. You can't make little mistakes like this. So get better, and we'll, and as a good boss would elevate.
Right,
that.
but obviously Catherine's not a good boss.
Oh my God, no, I know.
Right. So, I don't know. I think we're talking about basically the same thing a little bit. But because you're saying a good boss would tell her, be better at your job.
Yeah.
Right. And so she's not telling her to be better at her job.
Correct.
Right.
Because
but it sounds
she doesn't care. But that's what you're saying.
About elevating her.
But it sounds like, no, but you're right. But you're also saying, Christina, that it's like, it's okay that she's not better at her job because she doesn't want that job. She wants to take another job.
I'm saying in terms of her mind. Yeah. She is She's been in a million secretarial positions, and she probably doesn't feel like she wants to, she's not being good at her job because she doesn't want to be there. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
I'm saying that that's probably where her mind is. It's like, I'm just a secretary. I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. But she's not understanding that she needs to be better at her job in order to be elevated into a different position. She's playing the pity card. She's saying, I'm a victim because no one's giving me the opportunity. But in reality, she needs to take it upon herself to be better at what she's doing. But on the other hand, I have been bit in the ass before. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do your best at your job, but sometimes when you're really good at your job, they don't want to lose you in that position, and so they won't elevate you. So maybe that's her mindset too. But I think she has a long way to go before she gets to that dangerous position.
And Christine, I agree, and I hear what you're saying, and I have a lot of friends that have experieed that as well. It's like they're so good, you want to go into another team or another job, and like, oh, I can't lose you, so no, I'm not going to help you get that level. I think that's an awful reality, but I think that I just wish Tess was great secretary. I wish she was like a shining, super whip smart secretary. And she's not, and I think that's is a little bit of a challenge for me. That's all.
Did you want to talk more about it? Or?
No, I'm done. That's actually my only note.
That's it.
Let's stick with Tess though, because this line, this very famous line, is actually in like the top 100 movie quotes of all time. I think with the American Film Institute. I have a head for business and a bod for sin, and I hate to say this, listeners and Christina, I went back to like when Harry Met Sally, when Meg Ryan has the orgasm and all that, in the diner. I love the line. I don't know if Tess would say that.
She would never say that. I never liked this line.
I don't either. I think it belongs in a different movie.
It doesn't make
a different character.
It doesn't make
Sigourney
any
Weaver
sense.
should be saying that line.
Yes. And maybe she's trying to be what she thinks Catherine would be. Maybe that's it. But I think
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Maybe. But, that's like a stretch.
She did see well, you know why? Because she did see Catherine when she was doing the dim sum, the dumplings, and she hears Catherine essentially saying to that guy, like, oh, and maybe we can talk about... But, like, it's very come hither.
And she says that to Tess, too.
Yeah.
She says sometimes you have to do blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. She just justifies it in some way.
Yeah.
But she's actually hitting on Jack at this point when she's saying that. I've got a mind for business and a body for... Like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be here. Right. Your whole point is to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And now you're going to what?
Well, she is on Valium and tequila.
Yes, true.
And the Valium was like much higher milligrams than she knew, which is revealed by Sin the next day.
So funny.
And that's just great. I do think though that that line it's almost too. This is so rude. I think it's too smart to say for someone who is on Valium and tequila in that place, in that moment, in someone else's dress. You're just not that.
And if you're nervous, I've never been on Valium and tequila at the same time, okay? Probably makes you sleepy. But I can't imagine it's going to make you feel sexier. Especially if your main goal is to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. Like, doesn't make any sense. And she's already pissed off at her boyfriend for giving her lingerie, like these sexy underwear, right? For her birthday. And she says something like, someday, she's obviously disappointed that he gave her that. Mm-hmm. So she already has that in her back of her mind that she wants to be taken seriously and not just about sex. And she says that line.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's a great line. Not for this movie.
Maybe at the end of the movie or something.
I could see Catherine saying it to someone, like, some guy hitting on her for a deal and her being like, well, I have a head for business and a bod for sin. Like, really as a throwaway.
Right.
So for you to say, maybe she's trying to mimic what Catherine might do, that makes more sense than, like, I was just on tequila and Valium, I'm going to say something a little
weird and
provocative.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not her at all.
So should we talk about Catherine?
Catherine.
Oh
I love Catherine from the first step she takes onto the scene. She's so good. She's so good at playing the frenemy. You know what I mean? Like, by pretending to be your friend and just being such a backstabber. And, like, you can see how she gets to that point in her life because she's so manipulative, but, like, charming at the same time and confident and all that. She says, I'm so mad at myself because she said this great line, and I wrote it down, and I can't understand what I wrote. Yeah. But she says, I'm in town now.
Oh, I have it. Good.
What does it say after that? So something about the month of June.
She's like, well, how can you be so short? She's like, well, we're in the same city now. She's talking about how she knows Harrison Ford's character, Jack, will propose to her.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
she's like, well, we're in the same city now. I've indicated I am receptive to an offer. I've cleared the month of June.
Cleared. That's the one I'm not.
And I am, after all, me.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It is
good.
So good.
It's so good.
But even before that, Christina, when she's talking to Tess and they're having a full-on conversation, they've had like now 3 mini conversations. And then Tess is getting up and thanking Catherine for everything and ready to start her job. And they've been talking for about 10-15 minutes. And she shakes her hand and says, Catherine, thank you for this opportunity. And Catherine looks at her and says, and call me Catherine. Oh! I remember the first time I saw that movie in the theater, and I truly was like, oh!
Yeah.
And then all over again. Like, I'm older now. I have had challenging bosses that like to delicately and not so delicately remind you to stay in your lane or where the lines are. And for Catherine to say, and call me Catherine, after Tess has been calling her Catherine 3 times, is like, I mean, so this is written by Kevin Wade. I mean, that line.
That is so amazing.
It's so hard.
It's so hard, but it's so, like, such a true... Like, that's what I mean by her character it's such a true character. Such a true character.
You can't busy the quarterback with passing out the Gatorade. That's said at the dumplings. Yes. And actually, Nora Dunn's in this movie. Nora Dunn is from SNL. From the 80s, she had a great character, the Sweeney sisters. And Pat Stevens, So she plays a very tightened up, what's her name? I don't remember her name. But they're sitting there, and Tess has this idea about serving dumplings, because she just read something at whatever magazine
magazine.
Was. Yeah.
Oh, I know what it was. Oh. It was W Magazine.
W Magazine.
Because then Catherine says,
You read
W?
Yeah.
So
and she's like, I read
condescending.
Well, yeah, and she said, I read lots of things. And then she says the thing about dumplings, blah, blah, blah. And Catherine says, this is great, Tess, keep the big ideas coming. And that woman says, well, I mean, if dumplings can be considered a big idea. Oh my God, so mean.
So mean.
So unnecessary. You said the word unnecessary earlier today, and unnecessary is a great word for that.
Yes, it is.
Great German on Sigourney Weaver. She talks to a German lodge owner.
And you know a bit of German. So
I do. I knew everything she was saying. I'm quite proud of myself, actually. She says fabelhaft, which is my favorite German words. Fabelhaft means fabulous.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but just, I mean, so much of Catherine, just so good.
She plays it so well.
And I also want to say, I love the scene where she's skiing. That is such a shock. It was such a shock to me then.
Yeah.
And I think it goes on, it's really funny, because I remember in 87, did you say? 88. No, 88. That, I remember that scene being much quicker. I think because it shocked me so much that she just falls off the cliff. And this time around, I thought it played a little, almost like too long. I think it would have been funnier. In my memory, it was like, she just goes right off the cliff.
Well, because the line she says is, only then do we get what we deserve. And then immediately, it's the skiing accident. It's like so good. So good.
It's great. And just her behavior in the hospital is like, oh, and she's like, stop looking at my gown. Oh, God. She's crazy.
She is crazy. Harrison Ford, so young in this. It was my first note.
Very handsome.
Yeah.
In this, yeah. And very, like, boyish, like rascally, but not Han Solo.
Right.
Like, he's very, like, boyish, like, almost vulnerable. He's a really great character.
Yeah, I really like the character. The first thing he says is, you're the first woman here who dresses like a woman and not how a woman thinks a man would dress if he were a woman. That, to me, is a middle-aged lens right away. I wouldn't have noticed that before, but I'm like, what? That is not something you would hear in a movie today.
Right. And I did love that whole moment, like when she walks in with the fur coat and they all look at her, because they're all like, they're truly, they're wearing like blazers and button-down shirts, and the hair is all pulled back. Yeah,
for sure.
My next note is back to Sin, played by Joan Cusack, when she's flirting with Harrison Ford. She's like, coffee, tea, me.
Well, that whole scene is so funny because she's like she's playing her secretary.
Yes, yeah.
And like she walks and she's like, "You decent?" And then, excuse me, hold all calls, Miss McGill. And then she's, can I get you anything? Coffee, tea, me? Like, she's so funny.
And Melanie Griffith's laugh, it sounds very real. Yes. And I wondered if that was even improv.
Probably.
She goes, isn't she a riot? That'll be all, Cynthia.
I love when she's on her way to the meeting, like on the way to like the original meeting, and she's saying to herself, did you hear what she was saying to herself? Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Like over and over again. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up.
I love when Harrison Ford changes his shirt in his office and they all applaud.
That was a great scene.
He's
I remember that
water
scene.
It's
so good.
Yeah.
And you just see his character and what like a fun-loving guy he is.
Yeah. And
right?
he's well liked. And so he's like a noble guy. He's a good businessman and he's scrappy. Like it's just it's a really great character and great role.
It is.
One thing about Jack though, very odd. And it's like noticeably odd. I definitely didn't notice this when I was young, but he has a gorgeous apartment and the smallest, weirdest bed I've ever seen.
Oh, weird! I didn't notice it.
Oh my god! I think it's like a full-size mattress. That's not. I do not think that's a queen-size bed.
Interesting.
And it has like it's very old. It's like there's like wooden. It's like something. I hate to say it, it's something you would like see in a yard sale.
Yeah.
Like in like the 80s or 90s, like no, I guess 80s. It was 80s then, but like. It really doesn't fit. It doesn't fit his apartment. He also has a TV right near his bed. It doesn't... It's like, I know he's a bachelor, but like, you walk into the apartment, and it's quite beautiful. The hardwood floors, and he has like, some nice art up and stuff. And then you walk into his bedroom, it is like it's like boy bed.
Yeah.
Like, it's like just...
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, actually. So funny. The thing I didn't really love about his character is that he repeatedly was hitting on Tess. Like it was repeatedly trying to hit on her, and she repeatedly said she wanted to keep it professional.
Right.
And he never mentions that he has a girlfriend.
Well, he wanted to break up with... that's right. They're not broken up yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and he doesn't even mention it until she calls him.
It's also, you know what? Yeah, that's also peculiar because he's like, when they're in bed together, he's like, yeah, it's a woman in your office. Like, never mentioning, like, was there any conflict here? Like, you're romancing someone and you're still dating this other person?
He should have at least said that he was involved with someone, that he's ready to, he wants to end
and you know what?
The relationship.
Christina, you're right. If it is his girlfriend, she fucking just broke her leg falling off a cliff. Like, why not be there for her?
Right.
You know what?
Yeah, there's a big disconnect there. There's a big screw him.
I hate him.
I hate him too. But I did like that elevator scene when she's like, maybe I just don't like you. And he's like, nah. And the door's closed. That's kind of a classic scene.
Melanie Griffith is a good natural laugher. I like her.
Oh, she's good, yeah.
Quite really good in this. Okay, can we talk about my guy? That was my foot, by the way. Alec Baldwin. Mick. Okay, so a couple things. The party for Joan Cusack and her fiancé. Did the fiancé look familiar, Christina?
I don't remember now.
My stomach is... I don't know what's going on with my stomach. I hope I don't just keel over, but...
I'll try to edit it out.
Yeah.
If you do.
I will fall on something soft, not upset the audio.
Well, there's plenty of soft things to fall on here.
So her fiancé is played by Timothy Carhart. He was in Thelma and Louise as Harlan. The awful Harlan.
No!
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't catch it.
I'm glad I didn't recognize him.
I'm surprised you didn't catch it.
Shut the movie right off.
Also, in the background, he actually gets a screen credit, and I don't know why, but David Duchovny is in the party scene.
No kidding!
He is gigantically tall, and his hair's all slicked back. He looks a lot like Alec Baldwin, actually. It's like very much like the Goomba,
kind of,
80s Italian thing. But that's David Duchovny.
So funny.
Yep.
No, I definitely did not recognize Harlan.
But I want to say, so Alec Baldwin. I wrote down this little scene. To me, this was when I was like, he's so good in this movie. The scene where he proposes. Wait, first of all, at someone else's engagement party. I think it's a little tacky.
Oh my god!
It's so dumb. It did sound like he had it set up though, because the guy was like, "Do you have something to say? When are you guys getting married?" Like it felt a little set up.
Yeah. Yes.
And he proposes, and she says, "Maybe," and he's like,
"Valid."
Yeah.
Since he just cheated on her.
Yep. And he says, "What does he say?" He's like, "Maybe." He's like, "That's your answer?" And she's like, "Want a different answer? Ask a different girl."
Love it.
And everyone's like, "Oh, whoa!" And then they cut. And before that, though, and that's something a note I have. They're dancing to "Lady in Red." Mm-hmm. And before that, she's happy for him. Like, when he gets the boat loan, and, she really loves him. It's not like, it's like, oh, he cheated on her, and suddenly she doesn't love him anymore. Like, you feel like she's like, she just wishes he was a better man, and he's just not. And so then they leave, they go outside, and this is the moment when he's like, "You made fools out of ourselves." I actually wrote some of the dialogue down. And she's like, "I said maybe." And he goes, "Maybe means dick. Fuck maybe. I want an answer now." And she goes, "Please don't yell at me. You can't treat me like..." And then he goes, "Why the fuck are we... Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh my god.
Why the fuck are we always talking about how you are treated? Who the fuck died and made you Grace Kelly?" It's so good. And then she goes, "I'm not steak. You can't just order me."
I have that written down.
Oh my god.
So funny.
It's such a good fight.
It's a great fight.
But what's great too is that she starts feeling herself fall back into that voice.
Yes.
Into her vulnerability, into her weakness. And she's trying to be tough, and she's bringing some of that attitude that she's been toughened up at the office back. But it's really good acting from both of them. It's a really
good scene.
Yeah,
it really is a really good scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. It was good that they had a little bit of that closure too, as opposed to they could have just left it at
her walking
he cheated on her, and that's that. It did show a lot of her growth up until that point. Mm-hmm. I mean, not completely grown, but growth.
Mm-hmm. Ricky Lake is my next note. The girl at the wedding.
Yes, really so funny. She pops up everywhere. She really does.
I forgot they said "I love you" in the boardroom. I totally forgot that they said that to each other.
Oh my God,
before
that's
the big presentation, right before she's exposed by Catherine. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very, very sweet.
Yes.
I thought the volume of that confession was appropriate for a boardroom meeting.
Yes.
It felt real in the moment, and I loved the two of them together in that scene.
Yes, I agree. I like that a lot too.
Any notes from you, Christina?
I have another Joan.
Let's hear it.
"Sometimes I sing and dance in my underwear. It don't make me Madonna." And she was a good friend. She was, aside from her...
She was grounding. She was grounding her.
She was grounding her. She kept her in reality, but aside from her, she really wanted her to get back with Mick, which I didn't agree with, but I could understand where she was coming from. You get the sense that they've been all friends forever.
They're townies.
Yeah,
they don't want to shake things up. They're going to break up the group. Right.
And just kind of keeping her in reality. But she was supportive of her. Mm-hmm. Even though she didn't necessarily agree with everything she was doing.
Well, I love when she walked into that party, when Tess walked into the party, and the first thing out of her mouth is, to Tess is like, and you're going to get busted, something, what did she say? It was something, she called her a name, not sneaking around, it was sneaking around like you, or something like that, to Tess, right off the bat. And it was that feels very real.
Yeah.
Because the last time they saw each other, it was she was like pretending to be her secretary.
Right.
So it was
right.
nice. Like again, the good script note is like it brought it back to like the last time they saw each other. It was under false pretenses. They weren't even supposed to be themselves. And now she's seeing your best friend again, and she's like being like, "Hey, not cool."
Yeah.
You know, doing that to me, and you're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Perfect.
I will say the big negative for me, and I'm going to be honest, I felt this way back when. I was a little surprised Catherine couldn't have improv'd her way out of that situation with Trask.
Oh, at the
Mr.
end.
Trask
at the end.
I was like, no, but really, like, just the original idea.
Oh,
like,
I have it in my notes.
It's like, oh, you know, Oren, I'd really have to check my notes on that. It's like, no, but you know, the basic, like, what gave you that first little, it's like, well, you know, I don't really know, Jack. You gotta help me out here. And he's like, no.
Yeah, the fact that she was like, Jack, help me out there, I think that was a little bit un-Catherine. I don't think Catherine would ever ask Jack to help her out because it's so weak. It's such a weak move. I agree that she should have been able to at least come up with something. And...
because quite frankly, she does have to lie on the spot a couple times.
Yes.
When she walks in on Tess in her own bedroom, and Tess of course, stupid move. Tess has the fucking screen up about the Trask deal, and Catherine says, "Oh, the email I sent to Jack, or whatever she sent to Jack, is up," and da 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 da. And she's like, "Tess, I want you to know the reason why I didn't tell Jack it was your idea is because you're." You know, under me, and he wouldn't take it seriously. And Jack has a really bad reputation. And she was throwing her own boyfriend under the bus, and so it's like, but she was very quick to do it, and I just felt a bit strange. Like it was strange to me that she couldn't have come up with anything.
Agreed. Although I feel like it was more natural for her. Like I feel like she's been in that situation before with other secretaries or other people, where she's had to create something out of. Like somebody else's idea, and give that excuse, like, "Oh no, he can't, I wouldn't present it to him because," like it seemed like a rehearsed excuse that she might have used before. So that's the only other thing. I think that because Tess gets her ideas from unorthodox kind of ways,
she connects these strange
she's
dots.
Able to come up with these strange connections.
Yeah.
Whereas Catherine probably has never done that. No. She's always done like crazy research.
Yeah.
Like this is why, blah, blah, blah. And that's why she's like, I'd have to check my notes.
Yeah.
Because she can't think on the fly like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's my idea of it anyway.
The
sex scene with Tess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better. Tess and Jack.
Yeah.
It was the getting undressed part. There was no music, and I felt it was weirdly quiet.
It also went on long. I think I think part of that was supposed to be funny. Like it was so tough getting undressed because they were in like these suits and button downs and all this kind of, and like it took so long. And I think it was supposed to be funny, but it was weird to me too. It was weird. And then he was ripping his shirt, like ripping some buttons off his shirt.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what. Like, I mean. It's weird without music, and it's weird that it's played. I don't know if this is like kind of comical or whatever, but yeah.
What'd you think of the wedding scene? Did you feel like that was like a realistic?
Well, the only thing I felt about that was like I was like, you know, I believe this. You can schmooze your way into a wedding,
and a wedding enough. That size, no
easy
question.
Enough. They look the part. Everything's great. Although they don't really look the part because it's a luau theme for some reason. But here's the thing. My feeling was, I wish they weren't being exposed by the bride running over to them, because just because they left the room doesn't mean the daughter's not going to tell her dad everything. And then the dad's going to remember, like, well, then they're boneheads. I'm not going to meet with them. They sabotaged my daughter's wedding. Like, that scene's missing. So, like, why did he still take the meeting?
I think, yes, I agree. 100%. That's the only part about that scene I didn't like. I bought that you could schmooze into a wedding. I bought all of that. And just the conversation, like, kind of leading up to, like, a business conversation felt real to me. I agree with you. I felt the same way. Like, why? Like, she's obviously going to tell her father. That, you know, they're obviously going to have a conversation with that.
They talked to me in the bathroom. Like,
if it was, it would have made more sense if they were looking around and they could just see people talking.
Yes.
And looking and realizing like they needed to get out of here before the jig was up. That would have made more sense.
How about they all started wanting to do the chicken dance, and they were like, let's get out of here, let's get out of here.
Yeah, any of that.
Yeah, whatever. But I do think, that was the only part of it. But otherwise, I liked that scene.
Yeah,
and I like Mr. Trask. I like Mr. Trask. He was great.
So reasonable.
Nice guy. He was
nice
completely
guy.
easy.
Yes. Going.
Oh God.
So I feel like we need to take a little bit of a break. My voice
hydration.
Yes. I need a drink. So let's come back. We'll talk a little bit about the end.
Yep.
And have some questions.
Cool.
All right. We'll be right back. Hey there. It's Brian and Christina. We just wanted to take this break to thank you for listening to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you have any questions, comments, or observations, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. Thanks for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we're back. We are talking about Working Girl, 1988. Brian, what are your feelings about the end? The end of
I do have one more note, and I'm really sorry.
We get to that. Please, go right ahead.
So one little thing that also went into my negative, and it meant nothing to me when I was younger, but has Jack never seen Catherine's office?
So I have an answer for that, because I remember feeling bothered by that from before. Okay. And this time I paid attention, and it's a new office. She's new there. She just moved into that office. It's brand new.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So she didn't know about that. He
didn't
know about that.
Great.
Yeah. So I remember that from before.
The ending. Holy shit. So I will tell you, I remember it vividly back then because the audience, there was a wave of applause.
Oh my gosh.
So, and it hits us, and it hit the audience very slow because it was the woman is in the office and she comes out and she's like looking at her. She's like, Ms. McGill. She's like, this is my desk. Your office is in there.
So
and
good.
Suddenly you hear, like the audience started clapping.
I just got chills.
Oh my god. It was such a moment to
see
like Melanie Griffith's face change. Like, no, it's not for me. And it's funny because even Mr. Trask says, well, you have to start out. It's very entry level. But he meant entry level as for an executive.
An executive entry level. And I liked the fact that she checked in, and I noticed this time, and I didn't before. When she checked in, the person that gave her desk assignment or whatever, she's like, the director's not in today, but she'll catch up with you tomorrow. That kind of thing. So... Yes, I there's no one to tell her that she's not the
right.
There's no one to tell her any of that stuff.
And it's also great that it's like that it's a realistic office. And what I thought was so smart with this movie is that like when she's sitting there and she's so excited and she's talking, the first person she calls is not Jeff.
No,
it is her friend.
Yep, I
Sin.
love that.
And she's so excited to share the news with Sin. Sin is as excited for her, and the camera pans out, and you just see a million offices with the window view. And really, it's that like really realization of like Tess's dream was really just like a shared dream of so many people that want that office, that want that window view, that want that, and it's just nice to like, because it's just a very small, it's a very big story for this character, but the camera pans out and it's just like there's a million of these stories.
Well, I honestly, I felt like I wanted to work in an office again. When I got, do you know what I mean? Like, because I had many years, like, in that corporate world and working in downtown and all that, and I really enjoyed it. And I just don't do that anymore. It's a different career for me now. But it made me miss working in the city and working in the office and working my way up. And it made me miss some of that. It was really interesting.
I miss it now.
Yeah.
I mean, my office is like in the woods of Rhode Island, but it's like, but I miss my work family. I miss that camaraderie to work. Everyone's remote now. I'm still remote. And but I miss just like the chit chat and like talking to the person that's next to you in your cube, one over, and you like, you have those bonds, but it was but it was nice, and I will say, like, the audience, I will never forget that as long as I live.
Yeah.
Like, that increasing applause, and just amazing. How happy the audience was for Tess McGill. But I just thought it was a great scene, and I liked it. It felt very realistic. She wasn't getting, like, an office as big as Catherine's.
Right.
It was very realistic and real, and it meant the world to her.
Right.
And that was great.
Appropriate.
It felt very appropriate and real.
I will say, going back to Catherine a little bit, Catherine finding out was really, really funny. Like, to me, like, when she's in the bed and she's all of a sudden she's realizing it, and she's like, oh my God, and busting into the office. So funny, and I really felt like it was so realistic. I was so happy that they completely believed her. They did not believe Tess. Even Jack was not believing Tess.
Wait a second. I respectfully disagree right now.
Okay.
Because they didn't say anything. It was really more like, what kind of show are you running?
Right.
And I don't think they turned on Tess. I think Tess was humiliated and exposed and left. But I did not hear a single one of them say, Tess, get out, or Tess, you're right. You're right. The only person that called Tess a liar was Sigourney Weaver. And I think, in fact, Tess didn't call her a liar. I'm sorry, Catherine didn't call Tess a liar. Tess called Catherine a liar. And I think that's when they gasped. And I think that speaks to big business. Because what happens is, like, all she's coming in saying, this woman, you're here under false pretenses. This woman is my secretary. You are being had right now. She's not calling Tess a liar. What changes, though, is when Tess calls Catherine a liar, and that's when people are taken aback by this accusation. Mm-hmm. Because to call someone a liar in a professional boardroom is classless.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, that's really my point. I liked the way that they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the way that she all of a sudden found her way to the table by feeling like she couldn't stand. So the guys all rush and grab a chair for her. And all of a sudden she's sitting at the table. And now she's in her position.
Yeah.
And I really liked the fact that because Tess didn't have that experience in the boardroom, she emotionally... She didn't know the right thing to say or react the way she should have.
Right.
That's what I mean by that. She leaves, and it's just business as normal, as usual for everything else. Even Jack stays and is on board and all this because he knows that the deal's going to go through and everything else. Mm-hmm. He's much more business focused, and I really appreciate that because it could have gone a very different way. They could have written it a very different way.
Yeah, it could have been very farcical and crazy. And,
yep. And you'd think it's over, and then it's not until like the elevator scene
when she says, although I laughed out loud when Sigourney Weaver was like, when Catherine's like, "What's that? More stolen files?"
Oh, I love that. I love that. It was so.
But I do have to say. When you really think about this, she has known Tess for not a long period of time.
No.
Tess has done some kind of unethical things.
Yeah, basically not broke into her house, but like
she was living in her house.
Steal files and things.
But I think she lived there.
Yeah.
She was living there. And that's why she was vacuuming and stuff. Because she was living there after she ran out when she saw what's-his-face having the affair. So... I mean, Tess wasn't completely on the up and up, but we also know Catherine was much more was very underhanded and lied to her as well. So, but it was just funny, and I agree. I think it was good that I liked the way that meeting unraveled.
Yes.
Because it would have been very unbelievable if they were all like saying like, Tess, get out of here. Like,
or if they just had the fight in that room.
Right.
Like if they had a fight. Like it was very Catherine not to stoop to that level.
That's right. And I think that's why Catherine got to stay. Because Catherine knows how to, for the most part, compose herself. I mean, she did almost hit them with the crutches and stuff, and that was very funny.
That was very funny. The one thing I did have a note on that was, it just turned my stomach then, and it turned my stomach now, which is ironic. But when she's talking to Mr. Trask, and they find out that she's, whatever, on the up and up, and he says, "Do you always have that fire in your belly?" Like that, whatever.
Oh.
And she goes, "I'm not sure what you mean about my belly, but I think it's nerves." It's like, oh my God, can I just throw up on you right now?
I thought that was a bad line.
Stupid line, delivered poorly.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, she's like this meek little, like a mouse. It was so stupid and very different.
Yeah.
See, now that would have been the time to say, I have a mind for business, a body for sin. In a belly on
fire. Yeah. In a belly on fire. Yeah.
Anyway.
And she could have said, the fire's burning those butterflies away. But I agree. It was so mousy.
It was terrible.
She was like a giant step backwards for Tess.
Oh my God, I wouldn't have hired her after that. I'd be like, well, I was going to hire you. I forget now.
You're going to get a better office, but now I'll just give you the...
Right?
The one at the end of the hall. Oscar nominations for this thing: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress. 2 Best Supporting Actress nominations for Joan Cusack and Sigourney Weaver. And it won an Oscar for Best Song, Carly Simon.
Yeah, and I meant to do some research before this, but there was an intent on, because there was a little bit of uneasiness that it was the type of song. It was like a hymn, and they didn't know if it was going to work right for that movie. And there was some sort of background. I remember back then there was some sort of a conversation, and it was, she did it intending to do it a certain way. I don't know. I wish I'd done some research, but I'm sure it's out there if anybody wants to look it up.
It's really played throughout the movie. I mean, even in some more dramatic scenes, it's just slowed down a lot. It becomes it's really the score too. So a little bit more trivia. This is a little dark.
Oh boy.
So Melanie Griffith struggled with alcohol and cocaine problems throughout the filming of this movie. She was so bad that at one point they had to shut down production for a day. Oof. When she returned, Mike Nichols, the director, pulled her aside and took her out to lunch. And he said, listen, here's what we're going to do. Because he's supposed to report... You're supposed to report actors for that kind of... Because it's insurance. There's insurance liability issues. So... And also because he shut it down for a day, they lost $80,000 for one day of filming. So he says to her, he's like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not reporting you to A, B, and C and our insurance. He's like, but you're paying for the lost wages, the lost production day, and you're paying everyone for their time because you wasted everyone's day. She did, and from that day on, she cleaned herself up for this duration of production. She then, when it wrapped, she went into rehab. But the funny part is, Mike Nichols revealed in a book, in his own memoir, that he was battling coke addiction.
Oh my God! At the same time.
Isn't that crazy?
And where was she in her personal life? Was she married to Don Johnson at that point?
I don't know.
I wonder.
I don't know. But she has talked openly about it and said New York in the 80s was all coke, and she's like, it was coke and partying, and big partying. She's like, and I was young and successful and making a crazy amount of money, and I was partying.
You can see how that people get wrapped up into that.
Original considerations for Tess. Do you know this?
No.
Brooke Shields.
Ooh, that's weird. That's an interesting choice.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh boy, it's Michelle again. She would not have done a good job with that.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I think she would have. She would have been cute. I think she would have struggled with that accent.
I was just going to say the accents.
Yeah. And then Madonna. Remember, this is the time when everyone's trying to put Madonna in their
wanted
movies.
Madonna.
Yep. And then Jack Traynor. This is some interesting film trivia. First choice, he was cast in the role Alec Baldwin.
Oh my.
So Alec Baldwin,
young for that, though.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin was cast as Jack Traynor. What happened was Sigourney Weaver signed on, and Harrison Ford became interested. And they went to Alec and said, listen, Harrison Ford is interested in the Jack Traynor role. We know, with his name on it, more people are going to see this movie. Would you be comfortable taking the Mick role? Yes. Never complained.
Wow.
Never explained. Never argued anything. And he knew it was the right thing for the picture. And
interesting.
There you
Good
go.
for Alec.
Yep. So I think that was a really smart choice.
That was a smart choice for sure.
Christina, any final thoughts?
I don't. Did you like it more, less, the same?
I liked it more, I think. I liked it more.
Yeah, I think I might have liked it more too.
Yeah, and it just goes. I mean, I don't really think there's that much dead weight in this thing. But, a couple of issues with Tess in the beginning, but I think this is just, and the dialogue is so great.
The dialogue is so great, and I think I had not low expectations moving in, but I didn't I didn't remember a lot of it, and I think I had lower expectations of it. So when I watched it and really enjoyed it, I was like, oh, this is nice. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that I'm saying that because like screenplay wasn't a nomination. I thought this was a really strong screenplay.
Yeah.
Except for that butterfly. Fire in the belly.
Fire in the belly. And the sin. The body for sin.
Oh, right, yeah. But people love that line.
Yeah.
Questions.
I have an FMK.
Okay, I have a match game.
It's been a while
what should we do
since
for?
we've had
It has been a long time.
I'll do the FMK first because it's quick.
It's been a long time since we've done it.
I don't think it's going to be difficult either.
Okay.
You're welcome. All right, my FMK for you is Mick, which is the Alec Baldwin character. Jack, which is the Harrison Ford character.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Trask.
Okay.
I don't know the actor who played that. Do you have his name?
Damn it, I don't have his name.
That's all right. He was very good, though.
He was great. So truly FMK is FMK. So effing Mick to sort of fulfill that little teenage fantasy.
Interesting. That's so funny.
Marrying Jack because I just loved him so much as a grown-up. And killing Trask, sadly.
Interesting. See, I chose differently.
Oh.
For you.
Wow.
I got the F right. Effing Mick.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
I thought you would kill Jack and marry Mr. Trask. Because Jack is kind of a cheater. He's kind of a liar and a cheater. Like, I don't know if he'd make a great husband.
It's a really
and
good
Mr.
point.
Trask was a really nice guy. Like, I think he would be a really good husband.
And wealthy and super, super nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I appreciate your analysis. What would you say?
I would have married Mr. Trask, killed Mick, and effed Jack.
Huh.
Yeah. I think Jack knew Jack knew his way around a female body.
You clearly forget the bed. Christina, I'm begging you.
Well, I'm not saying
Next
the
time
bed.
on...
Well, if he can do his business on that bed.
Ah! All right, I have a question.
Okay.
It's match game. A true match game
time.
Christina.
Yes. Do you have your music cued?
I do.
Wait, I want you to write down your answer before you...
Oh, yeah, good thinking.
Write it down before you even say the question, because this has happened several times now. And I'll just sit and watch you write. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram.
Yes, please. And
while we're
YouTube.
YouTube.
And give us a rating. Okay, Christina, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. A true match game question.
Okay.
Catherine Parker as a boss. I mean, she is really tough.
How tough is she?
Thank you for asking. She now insists that her secretaries take meeting notes with a blank.
Oh, do you have music? Yeah, there you go. Takes meeting notes.
See, Catherine Parker is a really tough boss. Her poor assistants.
Meeting notes. I don't know. I'm just gonna write this. It doesn't make any sense. But this doesn't make any sense.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Ding.
Christina, Catherine Parker is a really tough boss. She now insists her assistants take meeting notes with a blank.
A Sharpie?
Oh, God. Okay.
No,
So I was torn between cave drawings.
Oh, okay.
And a stone and chisel.
Oh, interesting. You know, it's funny. I was actually thinking in my head. I was thinking of like an engraving tool.
Yes, that would have been great.
But I don't know. Is that what it's called? Just an engraving.
I know.
Tool?
I didn't know. Well, I wrote stone and chisel. I don't know the names of it either.
But I was thinking Sharpie because she doesn't want you to make any mistakes.
Oh my God.
She's tough.
So, wow, working girl.
Working girl.
Good times. And that is it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there, please.
If you have an idea for the show or a suggestion or comment, you can email us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
Thanks again for listening. Until next time.